Hey guys, good morning. Today I'll be introducing the latest chaos introduced in Season 3, Theater of Illusions. So, as you know, every chaos has their own shtick. And with the introduction of the latest character, Hyde Marie, the main intention with the latest chaos circles around the fact that it's around discard, discard, and the newest mechanic introduced for this season, Persona. So Persona is a really good concept, but before that, let's explore some of the nuances. Of course, as with every chaos, there's 1 to 11 difficulties, and each modifier increases the save data tier. Now, let's see what equipments, monsters, unidentified areas, and bosses are in this specific chaos. Once you hit 30 level 30 exploration, you'll unlock a couple of things. Dreamworld, when this card is discarded, discard 2 random cards in the draw pile. As you can see, from here alone, there's a lot of cards and equipments focusing around the discard concept. As for the equipment, when a card is discarded to an ally's ability, so when you use a skill card, gain 1 damage reduction and all the likes. Gospel of Lament, which is an accessory, when the action count of the enemy increases plus 30% to an ally card for 1 turn. As for the monsters were introduced, we have the folks over here, these abnormalities, and the robots. And for the newest bosses introduced, we have here the Cruel Born, which when this monster acts multiple times per turn, it increases number of actions increases when health falls below a certain threshold. So this is quite similar to like a berserker, that type of mechanic, I guess. Next one is Soul Collector, and these are the mechanics they have. But to be quite frank, the bosses aren't that hard and straight. They're pretty straightforward. However, the main thing that I really want to talk about is the newly introduced cards and equipment. So let's go through them. First and foremost, if we look here in the mythical equipment, one of the better items newly introduced here would probably be, even not even the mythical equipment, one of the best items introduced right now is first and foremost. Let's see. These equipments right here, they're all relatively really good for the characters such as Hyde Marie. This one, each time a card is created, so if you're comparing this to Hyde Marie, she has Effulgent Blades. So whenever you create Effulgent Blades, you have a plus 40% damage amount for a singular turn. So since it's an each time, Hyde Marie's on base attunement grades to Effulgent, you're already hitting the 40% quite fast. Next one is, along with Diana being introduced, you could see mechanics such as resonance being introduced through the equipment and gear as well. So that's a pretty good aspect to consider too. Another would be this. Each time 3 cards are discarded, inflict either vulnerable or mark, and you could do it 5 times per turn. So this is really good for, of course, Hyde Marie and Diana. So anything involving Quietus and Linked is really good. This one's a pretty good equipment as well. Plus 40% amount to attack cards when the target count of the attack card is 2 or more. Minus 10 for each target. And some other notables would probably here you can see this has a Quietus when discard. This has a Persona card mechanic. This one has a Shockwave. This Shockwave is also a newly introduced tag. Discarded, apply Resonance. This is pretty good. When allies link card are used, so this is specifically going to cater around Hyde Marie. So there's a couple of things that are really good to consider here. One would be Torture Toolbox. One of the newly introduced Persona cards, or even like engravings, really benefit from increased action count of all enemies. So And I believe that engraving. Okay, so there's a couple of things. It's an engraving for the persona cards. As for gear, I'm not too sure what the specifics on it. Okay, but otherwise, this is one of the key pickups if you do get the if you have the ability through engravings, through persona cards, or through the characters. On action count increase the damage amount by X%, which is a lot. And then, of course, Chase of Obsessions. This was very notorious during the heyday. Not too important at the moment. And when we're looking at the mythics, at the start of turn, wait, an eye plucked from a mural at the start of the turn increase damage amount of this unit by 20% for each ally persona card in hand. So you can have up to 3 per team. However, that isn't too important for this specific one. Okay. Now, so what are the key encounters that you can experience here in Theater of Chaos? One would be this one. This is quite a frequent thing to do. What I typically want to do here in the Relic Peddlers is get the credits. The gear that he drops isn't too impressive. I forgot the name of the gear. I believe it is a lonesome wedding ring. At the start of the turn, discard one random quietus card in hand. So at first glance, this could be a really good card. However, if you want to play a certain sequence of events, this kind of gear kind of shoots you in the foot, if I were going to say, on how you're trying to play your cards out. It's not too impressive, in my opinion. So there are, I believe, one of the great things, by the way, about Theater of Chaos is that there are 10 card removal encounters here. Of course, there are like of duplicates, for example, unstopping noise here. Both of these have the card removal. This one as well, unstopping noise here. So these three. Next would be the vocal cords donation, wherever it is. This is one of them. Monument of Glory. All three of these have card renewals, card removals, and etc. etc. There's a 5 card transformation, so that's when you can convert your basic cards or a selected card into one of the cards provided. Another, the really sad thing about Theater Chaos, Theater of Illusion, is that there's only one event for card duplication. I mean, that's kind of staple. You don't typically see like 1 to 2, but it would have been nice. There's one card copy random. I believe it's on Fresco. The event called Fresco. Yeah, I can't find it here. There are 3 Divine Epiphany Select. And those Divine Epiphany Select caters around the newest new deity. I don't know how to say the names because it's a bunch of symbols. So we can expect a lot of Divine Epiphanies here. There's also 7 Divine Epiphany randoms, 17 I believe for Epiphany randoms, and Epiphany selects around 2. So far so good. There's a lot more things to help improve a deck in Theater of Chaos, Theater of Illusion. So that's a really good aspect around it. Okay, so let's talk about the newest mechanic, which is the persona cards. If I can find it. Here we go. There's a lot of cards to go through here. Okay. So, what are the really good persona cards in my opinion? So far, the really good persona cards involve around the quietus, the draw, and the like. So, for example, this persona card over here, this card up to two cards. I believe this only falls under Rangers or something similar to that. Yeah, Rangers. This one's also for a Ranger too. So, characters such as Hyde Marie. So, what happens is certain persona cards only fall under specific classes. So if we look over here, draw two for each attack card drawn. I believe Veronica uses this. This one, 250% defense based damage when a target count as an action count of one is present to counterattack. So this goes under Vanguard. So this more specifically like Magna or 9. This one we could see for the bullet characters such as Renoa and Diana. So other than that, the newer cards that they introduce involve around actually, to be frank, very fantastic art over here. So Dreamworld, Inverted Messiah, Doctrine of Binding, Echoes of Abundance, and Explosions of Emotions. A Girl and Her Rotted Apple, Faces Woman, I really like this one. Persona of Loss, I really like this one. And Whispers of Madness, that's pretty good as well. And yeah. So other than that, there's a lot of things introduced. There's events that provide you engravings. There's events that allow you to do all those things. And the main thing that you have to consider is that you have to play around. You don't necessarily have to force yourself to play around the persona cards, but you do have to play around the fact that when you're playing around this certain chaos, you want to go around playing with the engravings to both the gear and the persona cards if you do have them. They really aid you in creating a really versatile and effective deck. So if I'm going to use my Hyde Marie, for example, when 40 or more cards are in graveyard, 2 morale. So that effect alone is really impressive. This one's the same thing. And with the persona cards, they do have conditional actives wherein X amount of Umbra or Lux, which is dark and light, engravings give certain more effects. So that being said, how is the how is the new chaos? I really like it. If we are going to talk in the standpoint of how the random encounters go, they're really they really go towards the aspect of theater and how the dialogue goes. And there's some encounters that are very dramatic to say the least. Overall, that's all that I could say and some of the analysis I can give you guys. Thanks for watching, and I love CZN.